Hey everybody, and welcome back to the final day of the Feed Me Pixels livestream giveaway week. As promised, we have that Game Guru developer live stream that's going on. I'm actually here joined by Lee, one of the developers. How you doing, Lee?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
So we're going to do, for about 2 hours, we're going to be doing a demo of Game Guru. We're going to be talking about how it works. Lee's going to be giving us all the ins and outs of it. Maybe we'll work on making a game together. We're going to see how proficient I can become in the next 2 hours. We'll see. It'll be a fun time. For the remainder of the day, though, then we're going to be going back into the Battlefield Hardline Feed Me Pixels giveaway week. You'll see me play some more Battlefield Hardline and not do so well like yesterday. I'm trying. And I'll be on till 4 o'clock, so let's just see how this goes. I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into this, Lee. And you can give me the ins and outs of how this works.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I'm just moving some stuff over on my screen so we can see. A lot of people, of course, love to message me the second I start. Someone's going to be happy about that because they're going to go, oh, look, my chat message came up in the live stream. That's awesome. People love to see their own name show up. Message me. Okay. Sorry, had a little audio issue there, but we're all set to go. I actually have it open. I have the chat open, so if you guys have any questions at any time during the stream, just let me know. I'll bring them over to Lee, or I'll do my best to answer them if they're directed at me. And that's about it. So Lee, I'm actually looking at a blank canvas here of Game Guru. Actually, before we start with that, is there anything you'd like to say? Anything I left out about Game Guru? I didn't give it a huge introduction, so is there anything you'd like to say about it?
Sure, yeah. Well, the first thing to understand about Game Guru is that it makes game creation very, very accessible. Because right now you've got a lot of choices. Game creation tools are exploding right now. There's lots of interest and activity going on. But they're still predominantly tools. They still need a lot of skills. You need a lot of pipeline, a lot of people, teams working together and stuff. And it's still quite a skillful occupation, really, creating games. And what Game Guru attempts to do, it's still in its early access stage right now on Steam, but what it's attempting to do is let anybody make a game extremely quickly. So you've got that instant, no barrier to entry, you've made a game, great, wonderful, and then we back it up with the power. We let people create lots of different things with it. So that's what we're attempting to do with Game Guru. We're going to be around for 5 years developing and adding to this, and we're going to use the community to figure out in what order we're adding things. So this initial shot, opening salvo into how do we make game creation so easy, absolutely everybody can do it. So that's really a quick intro to what Game Guru is all about.
Yeah, better said than I ever could. Now, are you trying to get one specific type of game? It looks like a lot of the content that's online right now is centered around first-person shooters. Is that the aim, or is this for different types of content?
Once upon a time, if you asked me that question 2 years ago, I'd say I'd be quite satisfied just to stick with the FPS genre. But as we developed the engine and we started listening to the feedback from our community, who sort of helped us in the very early stages of this development, it became clear, and very clear most recently, that FPS just won't be enough. The engine is actually capable of doing all sorts of different things, third person, top down, every genre, underwater, in space, all that kind of stuff. But what we wanted to do was to get FPS right first. So we focus on all the things you would expect of an FPS experience and get those right. Which is why you can see a lot of FPS sort of flavoured things in this particular version. But in the next couple of months, probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, we're adding a lot of RPG third-person elements. So it gives you more of an adventure, a storyline, all that kind of thing. And we're kind of bringing that in very quickly, just to sort of mix it up a bit. You know, everybody doesn't want to create FPS. Some people might want to do RPG, somebody wants to do third person, and everything in between. So it's been influenced by FPS because we put all that energy into that, but in the next 2 months we'll be adding all these other perspectives and other game styles to sort of widen the scope a bit.
Alright. And that actually brings me to one of the things that I wanted to mention. So this is in early access. So now, is this early access because you think lots of aspects aren't included yet? or more because it just the kinks are still there. You know, there might be some bugs that need to be worked out. I think
Well,
that's. Go ahead.
sorry, yeah, what we wanted to do was get a wider a number of people to actually use the software. I mean, we had a great community back in our previous forum, and that got us a long way. But we realized if we were going to distribute on Steam in a major way, and there are 125 million Steam users, all who have something to say about it, we needed to have a cross-section of Steam user opinions. We needed the Steam community to have their say, rather than just launch something all of a sudden said, this is what you want. We don't work like that. We ask the community what they want, and we wanted Steam users' opinions. So we figured early access was a great way to do that. We want to keep it relatively low-key, so we could just release it as an early access. People who discover it can maybe check it out. If they like it, they can provide some feedback. And then we'll have maybe, 5 months of that, and then we can move on to the full release when we've actually added some of the things that people, think, oh, that would be nice, but we absolutely need to see that, otherwise it's not going to be what I would call complete. So that's what we're waiting for, to that feedback. We keep adding things over the next couple of months, and hopefully when we get to version 1, it will be Steam ready. It will be Steam friendly.
I think that I definitely agree with that approach. You're taking the exact opposite of the Apple approach, tell people what they want and then sell it to them. No, it's good to get the user involved, because obviously this is about user-generated content, something we were briefly discussing before we went live. I'm actually in the engine. I loaded up one of the example levels. I think it was called Camp or something. I don't know if you're following me here on the screen. But I just opened one up just to see and hit test level just to see, what exactly we're looking at. Now, one of the things, my first, I know I'm testing a level and this isn't published, but my gut instinct was to hit escape and go through like graphic and audio options. And if you escape while testing, it's going to pop me out of the game. But looking, as someone who uses a GeForce 980, I like maximum graphics fidelity. What are some of the features that are included here? Would you say this keeps up with modern engines?
This particular example and the settings you're probably on by default, absolutely not. I mean, we're used to a AAA game these days have what's called global illumination, so you basically have a full lighting model, which basically every light casts shadows in every direction and everything just looks nice and high fidelity. The thing is, when we was developing this, our community wanted us to aim for low to mid-range compatibility. So it could run on a laptop, it could run on low-powered devices, things like that. And there's a lot of Steam users who don't have the big rigs. They're still running on a laptop, something like that. So that's where we've started. We've started at sort of the common denominator, trying to get it all the game elements that you would expect on the smallest hardware possible. Not going crazy, extending off to tablets and things like that. But you've got your laptop, you can get Game Guru and you can start making a game and playing it. But we do have big ambitions. In the next, probably definitely before the end of the year, we'll have a full global illumination system. So you'll be able to have lots and lots of lights, as many lights as you want, casting lots of shadows in every direction, ambient occlusion, so you get those lovely little details that creates a better sense of depth. But that's really for the higher end, and the lower end and the mid-range people still want things to happen. They don't want us to work on the really high-end graphics until all those core game fundamentals are in place, and I would tend to agree with them. So that's kind of where we are right now, just getting those basic ingredients sorted, get that foundation in place. And we've, as a team, we have 15 years experience in doing game engines and graphics engines. I was probably one of the first developers to do the DirectX 10, I think it was DirectX 10 on Vista, technology demos. Before that was all in-house, and the graphics cards were like 3 miles wide and they wouldn't even fit in the tower cases. So it was pretty crazy times.
Yeah.
So we have the skill set. We just wanted to make sure that it would run on as many computers as possible, not just the high-end stuff, which seems to be the flavour of the month. I went to GDC recently and everyone was talking about physically based rendering. It's like, that's great and wonderful if you've got a nice computer, but what about the poor guys who've got pixel shaded 2 graphics cards in the machine,
Yeah.
they're not really going to see much physically based
And,
rendering or otherwise. So.
And listen, there's definitely a big market for it. If you look at games like Gmod, that you know, now that is we're using the Source engine. It's a very dated game, but it's still one of the most played games at any time on Steam. So, and that'll, you know, that pretty much runs on a potato these days. Any really old hardware will run that. So there is definitely an area. There's definitely something to be said about targeting low end. You'll see a lot of publishers want to go, you know, push as hard as they can these days, but you're cutting out a lot of the community. So I understand why you would push in that direction. But
it's only a starting point.
Yes.
I absolutely intend. In fact, a couple of days ago, I ordered a GTX 980, and it's still in its box in shrink wrap. And I'm being really, really sensible and not installing it until I'd finished this call. Because if I put a new graphics card in my machine and I got a new 4K monitor to go with it, guaranteed it's going to screw everything up, and this call would actually not happen right now. So as soon as this is over, I'm putting in a really big graphics card, and I'm going to have some great time. If you actually go into Test Game and press tab twice, you've got something called shader settings. You can ramp them all the way up to highest.
Okay, I just fired up Test Game on one of these other maps that I went in, and once it starts up, I'll follow that. We'll go where. I was just fooling around in the engine, pretty much just following the conversation here. After we do this little, you know, we show off a little example here. I dug myself a hole, so that's not going to be a great example to show. But let's see if I can get my way out. Nope, I dug myself right into a hole, which is great there. But you were saying where the setting was to change?
Yeah, if you press tab once, you'll get what's called a metrics panel.
Okay, nice.
And that kind of shows you all the different, how much energy your computer's using to actually run the different parts of the game. And it's very useful. You don't have to do anything about it. It's nice academic information to know exactly what your machine is doing at the time. And later on, as you start to develop more sophisticated levels, this information becomes useful. Like if you try and put too many enemies in like one building, then the AI bar is going to go right up, and it's sort of warning you. You kind of don't want to do that because it's going to slow down the game. Similarly, if you put like a tree that has 15,000 polygons per tree, and you cram a load of trees into a little arboretum sort of shape, then the polygon and the frame rate bar will jump up, and that tells you, oops, you shouldn't really be doing that. You know, you can do it if you spread it out, but you've got to be very sensible at where you put all your game assets. And you've got the first tab, which is the metrics panel. But if you press the tab again, you actually get all the slider settings, and that's the fun part. That's where you can actually change, you know, day to night. You can choose how much graphic power you actually want the computer to use. So if you go to the settings panel and press tab twice, you can set the highest.
I would love to be. I actually launched a multiplayer game. Not exactly not sure what I hit that launched it straight into a multiplayer game. But
you'll hit there's a little blue man icon.
I did hit that.
Yeah,
so.
Three-headed chap, and if you click him, you go straight into multiplayer.
I do see that, and I am in, and I did crank up the graphics a little bit here, but yeah, like you were saying, you can see that the current target is lower-end graphics cards or lower-end systems.
It is. Even our highest setting is still sympathetic to what I would call mid-range, you know, and that's being kind. I think we could throw this engine away and rewrite it with a whole new set of tricks in order to go for the super high end, but I think that's in the realms of you know, deferred rendering, physically based rendering, a new lighting model, new ways to render like a million lights, so you don't restrict the user in what they can do, it just renders it.
Now,
but, you know, we have to make that hard decision, because it's like we're going to excommunicate a certain amount of users who would like to see that kind of stuff but just won't be able to use it, because ultimately it's about game creation. If your game's running at 5 frames per second, it's not a game anymore, it's a series of screenshots.
You also run into the you run into the area of people would say, well, what separates you from these, really high-end engines, something like Frostbite or the Unreal Engine or even Unity? Unity is definitely a lower end one, or scales well. But they're going to say, well, these engines, Source 2, they're all becoming free. What separates you from them? And I understand what you're going for here. You're targeting everyone can use this, and we're making it as simple as possible.
Well, exactly. And I've got a team member who actually used Unity for a while. It went away and he created a game. It did quite well. But then I asked him, I said, well, what was the experience like, using Unity for the first time, and what did you get done? And there's a lot of learning curve. I mean, you get dropped into a very powerful engine, but then there's so many things you can do at the same time. You really kind of have to learn a lot of buttons before you've got anything on the screen. So if I was to time a beginner at Unity and say a beginner at Game Guru, within 5 minutes, the Unity guy might have maybe a cube on the screen or something like that. And the 5 minutes of someone using Game Guru, they've actually got a character running around, shooting a gun, running into buildings. And if it's about easy game creation, then surely the product that did it in 5 minutes for the user has a starting point. It's sort of a little advantage there. Fair enough. If you then spend the next 3 months, then the Unity game will then be at a state where you can go out and ship it and put it on Steam. If you've got an artist and all the other, the support network team and stuff. But then you can also do that with Game Guru, because we've actually got options to save standalone executable. So once you've actually made your game, you can actually save it. It's completely standalone. You don't need the software anymore, and there's no license restrictions. If you wanted to, you could sell it. There's no license fees. There's no royalties to pay. You don't have to worry if you get over $100,000 in sales, or you're a corporate entity or anything like that. You've made it. You own it. You can distribute it. You can sell it. You can do what you want with it. So you have that option. And there is a small segment of our community who are actually pushing the software so far. They're actually doing more than what we've actually programmed into it in the first place. I mean, we've got one guy called Retro Game Blog. He started adding RPG elements to the engine, and we haven't got around to adding them yet. He's actually using the Lua scripting engine and actually creating his own RPG elements within the software. So there's quite a lot of depth if you want access to the next level. Yes, make a game in 5 minutes, but who'd want to buy it? But you can actually spend the next 2 months crafting a really great game, and that is something people want to buy. So, you have that full range if you wanted it.
Now, actually, that brings up something that I did want to discuss. So I know you guys have it's almost like your workshop, but it's the Game Guru store, where people will be able to develop assets. And so if you're looking for something in particular for your game, you're not a level designer, you're not a modeler, you could go to this, basically what Unity has, the asset store. This is your Game Guru store, and say, oh, someone made an excellent helicopter. I want to add that to my game. Are you doing that also with programming? AI scripts. You said this person was adding RPG features. Is that going to be something that gets added to the store?
Definitely. In fact, I think one of the reasons he's creating his RPG masterpiece is so he can slice it up and then put it on the store so we can sell the components of that RPG experience. And in fact, the best way to sell somebody a script, an AI script, is to also provide a model which shows off the best bits of that logic. For example, the helicopter there. Now, I haven't gone through all 5,000 game assets myself. I've been busy coding and fixing and things. But you take, say, for example, a helicopter. It could have propeller blades which animate. It could have sound effect triggers that when you get near it, it sort of starts making like engine sounds. Or if you get near it, maybe it takes off and then explodes. Whatever it is. And so these scripts can be developed by third parties, tested with models, or they can be standalone, and then they can put on the store. So all you've got to do is just browse the store, read the descriptions if you like the look of something. It's a very cheap way to buy game assets. If you look at, say, a traditional internet sort of model asset store, their prices are like $10, $50, $100 for that one model. Whereas this store, you can buy things for like 50 cents, a full pack for like a couple of dollars, and it's sort of that's where we're pitching it at. We don't want people to come in like prosumer users who've got truckloads of money. These are for people who, they've got a bit of pocket money. They've got maybe $20-30 a week or something like that. And if they want to create a game with a particular set of assets, those assets are available. They don't need to find an artist to create it for them. They're just available.
And now royalties concerning these assets they use. So say someone gets all of their assets right off your store, develops their own game, puts it on Steam, sells great. There's no royalties back to the person they got the assets from. Correct?
Exactly. The artists who put their stuff on the store, they get their money up front. They get a 70-30 split, similar to how Apple and other distribution networks work. So they get the lion's share of any sales of their item. And it's fair to say that, I'd say, I don't know, half the people who create games won't necessarily be selling them. They'll just press new and then create a new game. There's actually a certain amount of fun to be had just creating games for its own sake, not really with the intention of becoming a millionaire by selling one of them. So the artists make their money by selling lots and lots of the same item to different people who come through the Game Guru store. So I think they're quite happy. We've seen the quality increase as more artists discover that they can actually publish through this store. And it's fine if someone makes a lot of money, just give them a credit. I mean, that would be a generous thing for them to do, but there's no legal requirement for them to do that. It's just, common courtesy. And it's something I would do if I did quite well with the game. I'd take my hat off to the artist who helped me put that game there.
Put them in the credits.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a random question that came up in the stream, which isn't much about the engine, but someone was curious where in England you are from.
The accent, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Originally, I was from Wigan.
Oh my God, they nailed it.
North England, and about 5 years ago, I moved to the coast of Wales, where it's a lot quieter and more spread out and more fresh air. So I'm enjoying a better lifestyle with the trees and the hills and things.
I wouldn't know anything about having an accent, so.
Well, it's very thick. I mean, it's not the thickest Wigan accent, but I think if you know Wigan or Manchester and stuff, you could probably pin it down to within 20 square miles, actually.
Yeah, someone did a really good job of actually narrowing it down there. And, obviously I was joking about accents because I have a New York accent, which is another very pronounced accent. And I kind of followed a similar path. I moved out of New York City, up north, and there's trees and stuff here, which is new to me. So it's a change of life. I'm not showing off too much of the engine itself right here as we're discussing. I'm showing off the store and bouncing back and forth, but there's not too much. Let's actually try and make something. So what do you think? I should fire up a new random level, or how should we proceed with this?
I think we should go completely from scratch. Let's pretend there are no sample levels at all, and you have to do something from scratch. So yeah, you've found the right place. You just do new and just to blank everything out.
So random level or flat level?
Random's better because it creates the hills for you.
Okay.
It's a lot more interesting when you look into the horizon and see all the different hills that have been created for you. So I would definitely go with random. And then I did actually lecturing for a couple of years, and I always taught the same thing. A game needs three things. You need a start. It's like writing a story. You need a starting point. You need something to do during the action, and then you want an end somewhere where you've got to the end of the thing.
So I have just sorry to cut you off there, but I have a slight concept in mind. So let's see if we could follow this theme, if it's possible, or even if the engine allows it. I would like my goal in my head right now is to make a multiplayer game which is co-op with something like a horde mode. So guys just kind of keep coming out. Would that be possible?
Multiplayer, but with sort of NPC AI bots that run around?
Yep.
We actually disabled that because what happened was we had zombies, and the zombies were like in one part of the map on one person's game, but the zombies had wandered off in a completely different direction on the other person's game, and it's like, that's not going to work. People will just be dropping dead for no reason in the middle of this multiplayer game. So we temporarily disabled that. But we have a multiplayer guys working full-time on the multiplayer stuff, and we've just added team play, so you can basically, if 8 people join, it's 4 plus 4 against 4, and that's a complete riot. And we are looking at bringing back the AI bot, so you can have NPCs running around. So you could have a single player with lots of characters running around, but if you wanted multiplayer, the only options you've got today
It's PvP.
Yeah, PvP and team play. Those are the only two.
All right, so let's okay. So changing topic real quickly. The well, not topic. Changing concept would be all right. We're gonna make a small arena, something like either a team deathmatch or a 4v4. That's the concept we're gonna go for.
Yeah, let's go with that one because we've got more chance of success.
Okay.
So it's really up to you what your arena is going to be. It could be based on an island, or it could be walled, like a wall city, or it could be high in the, lots on the top of cliffs and things with gangplanks and whatnot. It's entirely up to you. I mean, that's the beauty of Game Guru. You start a fresh map, and then you just start painting. You start creating. You sculpt. You add things. You move things, and before you know it, you've got, oh, this is interesting, I'd like to play this. So I won't narrate, you create whatever it is that you want, maybe just sculpt the terrain a bit, see what happens.
So yeah, so without even asking you what I'm doing, I'm just going to start randomly clicking some stuff here. So I did select a paint rock tool, and that's going to be my theme here. I'm going to make a very rocky hillside. I am painting, at least it looks like I'm painting. Now, it looks like this paint rock tool, if I click, does it raise the ground, or just actually it's just painting? Okay.
It's just the paint.
Now
the square ones, they're all the paint, and then the 5 buttons previous to that, they're like raise, and then level, then ramps and smoothing. So those are the sculpting ones.
Now I feel like, well, there's 2 things. I have no sense of scale right now. So is there a way to say introduce a player starting point, and would it be to scale so I have like some frame of reference?
Yeah, I mean, probably the best way for scale is to drop a character in. You don't have to worry about the character interfering with the multiplayer because the characters are removed before the multiplayer game starts because they're not supported yet. But if you go to, there's a button called Add New Entity. It'll be on the left. It's like a box with a little plus icon.
Let's see here. Add new entity. Yep, got it. Okay, and this is where all the assets are, I assume.
That's right, and there'll be a subcategory called characters, and those are all the characters that you can actually drop into your single-player experience, and they're all defaulted to basically wait, follow paths, and then when they see you, shoot you and try and kill you. So they're all pretty single-minded in that respect, but it gives you a good sense of scale.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that gives me a tremendous sense of scale, because I just realized I just made one tremendous map right now. All right. Yeah, because he's tiny.
And if you hold down shift, you can actually see
I actually, as you were saying that, I figured it out.
Well
Proud of myself.
We try and make it as intuitive as possible. So every time we get feedback which says I could figure it out within instantly, then we try and add something to the software which makes it even more intuitive.
Yeah, I mean, I have fiddled around in my day with game engines. I've worked on some game development. Spent a little bit of time with Unity, which I was impressed by. But again, you are right, because it is complex. It does take, even though that is a very easy engine to use, it does take some time. You will not be developing levels this quickly in Unity.
Well, I hope not, because that's hopefully one of our strengths, actually, that we can continue to provide the easiest way to create games, without forcing people to have to learn anything or, stop and go to some tutorial video and learn the rest of it. It's so great if it's sort of, whatever you tried worked. Whatever your instincts told you was the right thing. I think that would be a great place to be in terms of our control system.
So I'm just fiddling around with some of the options here. Blend mode, ramp mode. I'm just seeing how they work here, trying to get a little understanding of them. Obviously, Control Z undoes, so that's it's undo. So that's nice. That's nice to see when I break stuff.
I don't know if you figured the ramp out yet, but it's you basically click and hold, and then drag to your destination, and then it will take the height of where you started and the height of where you finished up, and then it will actually create a ramp from that level to the new level. It was really useful for people to sort of climb up large hills, because if you actually played that game, you'll like almost get a vertical wall and you'll never be able to climb up it. But the ramps were really good for creating a gradient, so you could get up it like easily.
Yep, that worked exactly how you said, so that came out really nice. So
Excellent.
I'm making. It's not the prettiest looking thing, but I am making like my crater of doom over here, and I'm gonna go through some of the other assets, see if there's something not. Now, do you have anything that is destructible, and any type of assets?
Yeah, we've got exploding barrels. Those are always fun. So you go into the. I think the
I
barrels
see
is
them.
the top,
I see them. Yeah.
With the red nuclear sign on or something.
Of course, we need plenty of those. I mean,
yeah, those. We've been doing a lot of testing on our multiplayer side, and it really mixes up the dynamics, because yes, you can shoot players and miss, but if you shoot a barrel, they have to be a long way away, otherwise they are gone. And they sometimes ragdoll into the air and then stick in trees or dangle over the side of buildings. It's hilarious. So yeah, exploding barrels is our favourite current thing that blows up.
So now I could see over time that, especially with the, are you going to be adding a lot more assets, or are you going to hand it off all completely to the Game Guru store?
No, it's our intention to actually keep populating the built-in stuff, because when you're making a multiplayer game and you're using this stuff, the local stuff, there's absolutely no waiting time. You can basically make a map. The person at the other end already has the assets, so there's no case of uploading huge mod files. You basically make your level, share it with somebody else. They already have the same assets. All they don't have is your exact level layout, and that gets transmitted almost instantaneously. So that allows for very rapid succession of multiplayer gameplays. So yeah, we want to keep putting stuff into this local library until it gets a little bit bloated. I think it's already something like over 2 gig, and we're just going to keep adding to it until Steam run out of memory, I suppose.
Now people are enjoying my ashtray that I've made. They're referring to it as my giant ashtray, which is not too far off. I do notice that when you dig deep enough, you hit water. That's always going to be consistent?
At the moment, yes. We're going to keep the water level where it is. We're going to add things like swimming on surface and going underwater and having underwater battles as well. But there's a lot of things people have been requesting, and one of them is water pools. So you can have different pools at different heights, but still have all the same dynamics of the water system. But we're going to leave that for 1 minute, because we just want to get that one level of water perfect, so you can actually, swim, splash about. It has buoyancy for objects and things like that. And then once we have all that working great, then we'll start having different water bodies at different heights. It's just the right way around.
Now, is there anything you're considering besides water, like lava? And I assume you are. I assume someone's asked for it.
I think lava is already possible. A sort of area where you can damage you when you stand on it, and then you've got some animating texture on an entity. The system is already capable of doing that. We just sit back and wait for the artists to produce it, because they have the power now. They can create all these different things, and every week we log on and say, oh look, all these new objects, and some of them are really cool. And I think I might have seen lava already, so you just hunt around the store, you might find that.
So I actually jumped into my level, which actually looks much better in the level itself. But I didn't realize I was getting insta killed. And I was like, what's going on here? And I forgot I put a Rocket Man in the map. So how do we remove Mr. Rocket Man?
Oh, he keeps shooting you. Okay, can you find him first? Or
yes, I found him. No, he's there.
All right. Well, you can just click on him. Obviously, you got to get into entity mode, so there'll be a button which is like a little. It's on the toolbar at the top, and it's like a cube with a little orange piece of grass under it.
Yes. Oh.
Or you could just press E.
E sounds like the better option.
Yeah.
Entity mode, we got him. Oh, and I could see you can adjust scale, rotation, position.
Yeah.
So I could technically make a giant-sized guy with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, you know what? I tried several times to disable that feature, and I probably succeeded in the last build. But everyone wants me to kind of re-enable it so they can have massive people running around. But it just, I suppose I should allow it. I mean, let people do the craziest, silliest games in their imagination and just have fun with it. But it just creates havoc because you've got the physics to deal with, AI, you've got to get, can they walk inside buildings? You know, all these extra questions that get raised with huge, humongous characters.
Yeah,
So,
is it going to automatically adjust for clipping? Like, or are they going to just start walking through stuff?
yeah, it's like a million little things that have to be thought about. And you know, that's our job. That's our job to do that. So the guy who wants a massive, humongous character can have his massive, humongous character, and we'll worry about the 100 little things we had to do to make it all work. Because that's really our proposition with Game Guru, to do all the hard work so you don't have to.
Now, if I was looking to, while I'm actually in development mode, I want to start moving around into, change my angle and my view in the 3D mode. Try and get down to like, down to foot level, or adjust the camera, rotate the camera. How would I go about doing that? Or is it always just top down?
There's two modes. The one is in test game, and then the other one is something that we're actually working on now called Free Flight Camera Mode, which at the moment you're only top down. That's the only perspective you've got in the IDE view. And you'll notice we freed up the right mouse button. It doesn't really do much when you click it, and that's because we're going to be using that so you can actually zoom in and rotate around and do the whole mouse loop thing. So we're actually working on that probably next week. That'll be starting development next week. But if you did want to sort of zoom around, you can actually do that, but you actually do it in test game. It's called F9 edit mode. So if you press the test game button, the little red rocket, and you're in the test game mode, if you press F9, then you'll actually get into this strange sort of Minecraft-ish editing system. And I've changed the keys recently just for consistency, but I think on your build it's still page up and page down, and that will allow your camera to float up into the sky, and then from that vantage point you can then just use the WASD keys to move around and mouse look to sort of look around, and that sort of gives you this this third-person editing experience, which is what people want to see in the IDE, but we've actually already got it working in the F9 edit mode.
So I'm actually going to go load up the level. I'm just throwing in, I'm actually giving a little stress test here, and I'm actually I'm throwing in a bunch of weapons and a ton of clown zombies that all happen to be centered around my explosive barrels. We're going to see what happens when I blow that up. And so I'm doing a little stress test with that, and just to see how the how the guns handle and everything. And then we're gonna hit F9 and see if I survive. I'll hit F9 and see what happens. Now, go ahead.
Sorry, I was about to say, did you find the start marker? So you can actually choose where you start.
I did not find it. I assumed it seemed to me that wherever I'm looking, it starts me when there's no start marker. Is that the case?
It'll start you in the very center of the universe.
Oh, okay.
Which could be an arbitrary point on your map. But if you want to pick exactly where to start, next to the entities where you was dragging in different entities, there's another tab called markers.
Got it. We're all set.
And you'll see these are all like the logic things.
Yep.
And the top one is start marker, and you've got an arrow. You can press R to rotate and point the direction you want to start in. Eventually, when this becomes a multiplayer map, then there's some other markers for starting from different places, because you might be 4 players that want to start in different places, that sort of thing.
Now, I'm assuming this horde of zombies that I created doesn't notice me, or their AI is completely off?
Are they looking at
Oh, Jesus, they're all coming.
Have you got some weapons?
Well, I made short work of them, so that was pretty fun.
Let me guess, you blew the barrels up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I like barrels.
I have them just kind of streaming towards me. They're not actually walking. They're just kind of floating towards me at the moment. I'm assuming their animations are a work in progress.
I think if they are just sliding towards you, that's actually on my bug list for Monday. The zombies are exhibiting the sliding about and not actually walking anywhere. They were actually developed by different artists at a different time, and I don't know. There's something that needs tweaking in the script. But if you played something called The Asylum or The Warehouse, they've got lots and lots of different zombies in, and I think there's only 1 or 2 zombies that exhibit the slidey thing. So I can always fall back on the it's an early access title for the next couple of months.
That is true, yeah, and that was a question I was going to bring up. How long are you guys expecting to be in early access? Because you see some of these game developers, like DayZ or The Forest, who end up being in early access for like 2 years.
Yeah, it's fine. A lot of people. I mean, Minecraft did that very successfully by being almost constantly in beta, just as they were adding things to it. We're quite happy to call it version 1. Once little silly things like that you just saw, the sliding zombies, ensuring the editing mode is good for all people. Like almost immediately, you wanted a third-person perspective in the IDE edit mode.
Yeah,
things
and this
like
is working well.
Yeah, a lot of people wanted that everywhere. And so, yeah, we're going to add that. But I think we're going to avoid adding big new features. We're just going to focus on those fundamentals. And I think once we get that response from the community saying, yes, you've solved all the fundamental issues, then we're happy to call it version 1. We've got a tentative deadline of sometime around July, August, something like that. That's what we'd like to do as an internal team. But as you know, in development, the best laid plans and all that, we have a plan, but we'll just sort of wave past as we accelerate past the deadline. It's often the case. But yeah, we have a strict idea that we just want to get these fundamental things right and then get out of early access. Because we're not going to use early access as an excuse just to keep adding things. We're going to be adding things anyway. Over the next couple of years, we'll constantly add to this software in response to what people want next. And we don't need to be early access to do that. We're just using early access to get sort of an early feel for what Steam users want. And then little issues like that you saw, that little glitch, that shouldn't really happen. You've only been using it, 40 minutes, and already you've found a bug. We'd like a situation where you could be using it for days and weeks before you actually hit something that you feel you can't ship with. So that's the only reason we're using early access, not to just stay in perpetual limbo, adding features and never get into version 1. We want to be at version 1 because that means we're finished and then we can move on and add all the cool features that people will want next.
Now, speaking of features, there's one thing here that I just have to mention. I keep going to test levels, just poking around. I am a person who uses an inverted mouse, and I'm yet to find that setting to invert the mouse. Is that just not there yet?
No, there's no one in our team that uses inverted mouse, so it never really got that kind of priority level. And no one in the community has requested it, actually. They want other things like more performance, more stability.
How dare they?
I know. What you really need to do is go on to the Steam as 5 different people and post 5 separate requests, and it'll probably get on our list in short order.
You guys heard him, so get on there. Mention that it's really, really needed, the setting to change your mouse inversion. I'm sure though that things like that, because especially when they start producing games, people are going to want key bindings. They're going to want to invert their mouse sensitivity.
Yeah.
Those are no-brainers.
Oh, absolutely. We have them currently in sort of a setup file, which is really unfriendly. So we would want it in sort of a nice little GUI where you can just go in and then instantly configure everything that you would normally expect in a game. I've
had to do it once or twice before. I mean, I'd say 99.9% of all games out there will have the inverted mouse option, but in that rare instance, I head over to my my INI file and just edit it. Usually, you change one mouse setting, 1 to -1, and life is great. But I've had to do it before. But
I'm sure we could just leave it like that, but I would like to do the full, because we are pitching it as an easy-to-use piece of software, and easy isn't going into an INI file and changing fields and probably screwing it up in the process. So it really has to be, you just find the menu item, you click it, you can reconfigure, and then it's done. And it's like that for every game you make.
Yeah. Now, as far as getting your game published on Steam, which people who've gone through the greenlight process will know, it's not the easiest thing. Did you guys went through the greenlight process?
Yeah, I don't know whether they still do greenlight, but I think we was one of the last sort of batches, or at least as far as I was aware, who were picked. And it took ages. I mean, you had to get a graph of how many people are voting for you and something. And our graph was way above average. It was like almost a vertical line just shooting up because we had a big support from our community. And it still took ages to actually get that big nod, that big green nod from Steam to say, you now have a slot, you can put your software here. And then what you find is once you're in Steam, you can develop a really good relationship with the guys at Steam. They're really very helpful to sort of say, this is what you should be doing and this is where you should be and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, getting on Steam in the first place is pretty difficult.
Now,
really
so is there anything that you guys would be able to do that helps the average user? They've made their multiplayer game, they love it, they've sent it to their friends enjoy it, they want it on Steam. Is there anything here in Game Guru that's going to help?
Yep, absolutely. You'll notice that if you go to the workshop part of the Steam page, we're actually using that right now in order to share multiplayer maps that use either store content or custom content, because it can't be instantly transferred between peer-to-peer connections. You need to have that media transferred somehow, and we're using the workshop for that. But it's a very small step from what we've already implemented, which is multiplayer sharing, to people sharing their own single-player games on the workshop. So providing you've got Guru, then you can browse through all the games and say, this is a cool game, and then get that, play it. It's encrypted, so the author's not giving away all the content and all the clever secrets, but people can still play it. So they could actually say to their friends, I have a game on Steam, but it's of course via the workshop, but it's there and you can play it through Steam. And the good thing is the engine is fully designed to be Steam compatible, because it had to be, because we're actually on Steam. So there's no difficulty in somebody who's done an extremely good game from approaching Steam directly and saying, I've got this really great game, no one's seen anything like it, it's already ready for Steam, it's already architected for Steam, and then all Steam got to do is say yes, and then we'll be very, very happy to help that author go through all the growing pains of getting the product onto Steam, because it's beneficial to us if we can point to other games on Steam and say, that was created in Game Guru. And so we're very, very willing to help any game authors who get to that stage where Steam are saying, yes, we will actually publish your title.
And as far as like generating, so if you're looking to generate your own game in its entirety, sorry, the game is slightly loud for me at the moment, but if you're looking to generate your own game in its entirety, is there any tools, or are you planning to put out tools that do menu screens or introduction videos or anything like that? Anything embedded in here so that they do a cutscene, custom menu and then a cutscene? Anything that'll help with that?
Yeah, we've got we actually took it out. I don't know why I took it out, actually. It was a silly move on my part. It's called Story Zone, and it's basically you drop it into the level, and then when the player walks into this region, it can play either a sound effect or a video. So you can actually create your video cutscenes and then just have them triggered. But the one thing I'm really excited about, it's going to be part of the RPG elements work. It's cutscenes that isn't a video, it's actually scripting movements of all characters. So maybe you walk and trigger, and then all of a sudden somebody will come out of a door, walk across the field or something, say something, and then run off into the forest. That sequence of events, that's the sort of thing that you'd want to see happen in not just RPG elements, but even FPS games with storylines. So that's something that I'll be looking at. But the very first module I'll be adding after the version 1 release on Steam is something called the Character Creator, which I think is really exciting, because right now you've only got some soldiers and some zombies and some medieval drunkards to actually use, and that's it. That's your entire selection from the default stock. what I find is people want to create unique characters for the story, for the game that they want to create. And so we're going to do a character creator, which is sort of like you can swap heads, bodies, legs, uniforms, whether they've got a beard or not, and other attributes and colours and properties. And by the end of it, you'll have created this unique character. You can put your own face on the character as well. That's pretty cool. And then you can give it a name. And then when you click save, it actually puts it in your library. And then it's there for prosperity. Then you can drop in your own unique character that you've created. And that's been a big request from our current community. And it's not too difficult to do. We've already done half of the prototype. So that'll be the first big module that will come out. And it's the first of many tools. We're doing other things which can help you create more assets quickly within the game space, so you don't have to go and find the assets in the store. You can construct it right there and then in front of you. Now, I wouldn't say as far as, say, one brick at a time, but sort of lumping things together, creating composites of smaller objects in order to create much larger constructions, something along those lines.
Now, someone asked the question of including Steam achievements. Obviously, I think that went back to one of the other questions I had as far as getting your full game produced, and I think that would be separate from your engine, but then again, you could correct me if I'm wrong. That Steam achievements was the question.
Yeah, we actually were going to add Steam achievements because we found a lot of parallels, like, say, you know, congratulations, you've made your first game. Congratulations, you've made your first multiplayer game. You've made a game that had 2 levels in it. You've made the levels that had 10 exploding barrels in it. But just things like that, just to encourage people to learn a little bit more about the game making process, and in turn, more rewarding for them. So we had the idea to put achievements in. We still have that on our roadmap. And of course, as soon as that's done, then the same achievement mechanisms can then be used by the end user who ultimately wants to put their game on Steam. So yeah, we'll be implementing it. It'll be part of the, you know, rewards for using more of the software. But the same mechanism can then be used by game authors who want to create their own achievements. But then there's quite a lot of work to do. When you work with Steam, you've got to set up all the different product pages and different elements, and achievements is one of those things. So it's not just like 20 minutes later you're set up and you're ready to sell on Steam. There's quite a lot of work to do in the background, and we'll be happy to help anyone who gets to the point where Steam are interested in publishing one of the Game Guru games.
Now, I do have to apologize for 1 second, because I was firing off the Magnum a little bit while you were talking, so I hope everyone was able to hear you. But the answer to the question, Doc, was yes, they're planning to implement achievements and then use their own personal achievements, and then use that same feature when this engine is capable of letting you produce games directly to Steam.
Exactly.
Yep. We're going to take a 2-second break here. I know people are curious. They want to know when the giveaway is. Not many people have asked, which is nice, and I appreciate that. They're here actually checking out the content. But some people were curious when the giveaway is, and it's actually going to be right now. So I'm going to do our first giveaway here. If you guys are interested in winning a copy of Game Guru to start making your own multiplayer games, just type "I'm in" the chat. I'll give you guys about a minute or so to do that, and then we'll pick our winner. Now, I use Nightbot, that he picks the winner for us, but he's been a little flaky lately. So if you happen to be one of the people who's already won Game Guru during this week or won something else, I'm sorry, I have to exclude you guys. Nightbot is just got a bit of favoritism lately. But there it is, guys. Type "I'm in," and I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that, about maybe a minute, and then we'll pick our winner. All right. So I am having fun in the engine, Lee. It is pretty cool. You could still see, though, you know, there is some early accessness to it, but that's okay. You know, you guys went ahead. You said early access. You're not trying to sell people something it's not. There looks like there's a ton of potential here, especially with the asset store. And, you know, once you get some users generating a lot of content, because I see things like, you know, old cars, military cars, you could do a World War II theme, or even tanks and planes and everything.
Yeah, and of course down the road we're going to make them drive along roads. So we'll have road creators and we'll have vehicle physics for different kinds of vehicles. Ones you can mash up and create different things, you know, big wheels on a small chassis and stuff like that. I mean, these are the sort of directions we're going to go in, just for the fun factor of it.
Now, is there a full development list of what you guys are working on published somewhere?
We have an internal spreadsheet which lists a million things we want to do, and we'd like to do them all. But what we've decided to do, because it would be an impossible list, it would take years, is let the community organically come up with what they feel is the next important thing. And we used to do what's called a voting board, so people could actually have a couple of votes, and they put their votes into particular features. And what came to the top was multiplayer, character creator, performance, and these sorts of things. And once those are done, once we've realised, right, we've ticked those off the list, then there'll be some new things emerging. So we have our own list, and we'll certainly do things that we need to do. Things like stability and performance are always important. Make sure the core stuff is right. But we're really looking to the community to tell us what they want to see next. If they don't want to see vehicles before they see swimming underwater, then we do swimming underwater.
That's a good way to go about it. All right, let's pick our first winner here. So, firing it off right now, and let's see who it is. And the winner is R. Vanner. Congrats, or Ravener, which would probably make more sense. I can never read people's name. Half the time I can't see the screen, half the time I screw the name up. But congrats, you're the winner. I'm actually going to send you the key right now. So just check your Twitch inbox. And sometimes what happens on Twitch, which is funny. Oh, wait, there's a no. R. Vanner. R. Vanner is the name. Oh, you're on the dev team. How funny is that? It happened to randomly pick someone on the dev team. All right, we'll fire off another winner. I tell people to type "I'm in" for the giveaway, but it's actually anyone who's been active in chat. So that is, you know, I've had no luck with these giveaway winners. Okay, here we go. Another winner is, nope, it's picking the same people as it's been doing lately. All right, Elementary Cookie. Did you previously win anything this week? If you did, I'm gonna have to exclude you. If not, we're gonna pick another one. Let's see. It's gonna take them 30 seconds to hear what I said. But pretty funny. This one guy, I've been calling him a hacker all week. He's been here all week because it's a whole week of giveaways, and he's happened to win 3 out of the 4 days. And to the point where I told him, listen, I'm sorry, you can't win anymore. And I don't know if there's an issue with the bot plugin I use. Because obviously the first pick was someone random. They've never been here before. It chose them. Great. But it just likes to pick certain names more often than not. And it's just really strange.
Or it could be in the clue of the name, hacker. It's just hacked the bot.
I mean, it's something crazy there. All right, let me just take 2 seconds here to give out that key, and we'll go right back in. We had actually a few of these keys should have been given out the other day, but because of Twitch acting up, we ended up having a few extra to give out. So let me just pull it up here. It's not in my regular inventory. It's funny, though, it happened. So I assume you know R. Vanner, because they said they're on the dev team?
Yes, I was just checking up on me, probably.
making sure you're representing it, okay.
Well, then I'm behaving myself, I suppose.
Well, I mean, one thing that's great about being on Twitch, sometimes I like to equate it to cable TV, or even Sirius satellite radio. We could say what we want. I mean, there's very few limitations, and you get to actually sit here and talk like people. You don't have to sugarcoat things, and I mean, yes, we want to have some level of professionalism. You know, I don't want to treat this like it's a joke, but at the same time, you know, we want to have some fun with it. We want to be real and just, you know, be two people having a conversation. None of the fake stuff you see out there.
Well, I prefer this format because it's more relaxing, and you probably get more information this way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, too, because at any time someone can chime in, ask a question, and, like, you know, Doc's been asking a couple questions, and I will stop and answer if I notice them. I will stop and answer those questions for anyone who has them. All right, I'm getting right back over to Twitch. That key was sent out, by the way, man. So, Elementary Cookie, you enjoy that. We're going to be doing another giveaway in a little while, so that's that. So stick around. Don't take off. Probably before we end, we're going to end around 2 o'clock. Before we end, sometime between now and then, I'm going to give away another copy. And our other streamer, Betty the Mail, is going on today. Betty, you're in the chat. What time are you going on today? I think I'm cutting at 3 today, so if you want to come on early, feel free. But Betty's coming on either at 5 or earlier. And he's going to be giving away another copy of this game, some indie titles, and he's going to give you guys some chances to get in on the Battlefield Hardline giveaway. All right, back to you, Lee. Just doing my other stuff there. All right, I'm back into Game Guru, and we'll keep working on this. So what were we discussing last there when I cut us off?
Well, I think you've killed a lot of zombies with exploding barrels. You're no closer to your multiplayer ashtray game.
Oh yes, my multiplayer ashtray.
So if you want to turn it into a multiplayer game, it's really easy. All you're going to do is drop in some multiplayer start markers for all the different places you want the different players to start from.
Okay. Now, if we make it multiplayer, it's going to automatically delete out all these zombies when we start it, correct?
Yeah.
So I can leave them.
I think you can leave them. I mean, it's still early access, so who knows? Every time we do a build, we get a little surprise. So maybe one of the surprises is all the zombies stick around and start eating all the multiplayer players.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
But you know, that's the cool part about it. We're going to find out sooner or later. But yeah, you can leave them put because it'll take you a while to delete them all. And just go to the markers tab and then get the multiplayer start marker,
yep.
And then
just
find places to
just put a few
everybody.
of them. All right.
Yeah, I mean, let's say it's an maximum 8 players, so put 8 down.
Let's see. I'm gonna strategically place them.
And don't place somebody in the water because that's just cruel.
No, it's gonna be in my mode. They're gonna be storming the castle because I put a castle in here. We said. What'd you say? 5 on 5 or 4 on 4?
8. If we do 4 on 4.
Okay.
But the cool thing is, if you've only got like 2 people in your multiplayer game, you'll just randomly pick 2 of these 8 dart markers.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna delete out one of these, but we'll keep them even. All right. So our markers are actually. Let me rotate the markers so people aren't looking at nothing. Rotation. Yes, I picked the correct axis. I'm proud of myself. All right. So all these guys are going to be hiding behind the castle here. It's a very exciting game that I'm working on. It's groundbreaking stuff here. All right. Looking good. Now, if we were to just start it up now, it would automatically work, or?
Well, you've got some weapons. I think I saw at least a Colt in the last game, so you've got a weapon somewhere. They'll respawn automatically in multiplayer mode, so you don't have to worry about that too much. And basically, it's just a free-for-all. So you'd want to save it with a particular name,
Oops.
just something you'd recognise. So maybe.
Yeah, I accidentally clicked multiplayer by accident, but I don't know. I get very clicky at times. All right, I'm gonna save it as now. It's gonna let me save it. Well, let me give it an excellent name like Mateo Land, because that's an exciting one. I
like multiplayer ashtray.
Yeah, multiplayer ashtray works too. All right, so it's up, it's running. Well, excuse me, it's saved. So just fire it up now. In multiplayer mode.
You would host it. In fact, I'm on Steam, aren't I? I'll see if I can mosey on in.
All right.
Even play a game.
All right. So play one of your levels. That's what I'm going to do, and we're going to call it Mateo Land because that's the best level ever made. Now, there's no... oh, I see Rick has joined. Oh, and Lee's in there. Oh, this is very exciting stuff.
Oh, dear. We're going to get all of the people on the on the Twitch chat. Actually, you'll need Game Guru first, so... No. Actually, we have a plan to release a player for free, so you can actually join.
Now, I do see that one thing that was really nice, and some of these games don't handle well, especially some other engines, not to pick them out. But some of them will be like, okay, what's the other person's IP address? And I was afraid we were going to see something like that. I was like, I really don't want to deal with that right now. Especially I can't post my IP address on the stream.
Well, we can thank Steam API for that. Steam really look after you when it comes to making these matchmaking activities. We did multiplayer a couple of years ago, used IP addresses, and no one used multiplayer. It was a ghost town. So this time we figured, let's make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, that is one of the frustrating aspects of some games.
And,
or the beautiful old school days of having to port forward. So you
and
can
the
host.
rest, getting past 3 routers, and then it's not working even then.
All right, we're waiting for players to join from across the pond.
Yeah, because different machines will be loading the assets at different speeds, so we have to wait for the slowest machine to completely load their graphics in. We did have an idea that we could start the game, and then the person who's the slowest, he can load his media in over time whilst you're playing the game, just to speed up this process a little bit. But
Yeah.
it works fine as it is. We just have to wait a little bit longer. And now I'll look for a weapon.
Yeah. And now the unfair part is that I can't invert my mouse. The zombies did stay, but not the ones that actually come and attack you.
Oh yeah, there they are. Oh no, those are like decoration.
So the fact that I can't invert my mouse is just completely unfair, and that's the only reason why I would die.
No,
just so
you
you
also
guys know.
created this level, and you know where all the weapons are. So there's only one weapon, isn't there?
No, there's a couple.
Oh, found it. Found grenades. Right.
Can't aim. I can't aim. The sound is probably extremely loud. Let's see. Let me see if I can lower it here. All right. Let me lower that sound effect. I apologize, guys. I'm assuming that the people in the stream must be like, "Oh Jesus, I can't hear a word they're saying." I've lowered the audio, guys. This is one phenomenal level, if I say so.
Hi, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
We should definitely pat the developer on the back for this. Both the Game Guru developers and the level editor. They deserve something special. I'm not going to know how to play regular video games later because I'm trying to adjust to a non-inverted mouse.
You know what? I think I'm probably going to add it to the list now because you've said it like 5 times.
I asked nicely.
I think you're right. I think there's a good percentage of the population who want this feature.
People must be wondering, every time I go for a headshot, I end up shooting at someone's knee. So, my brain just can't adjust. Oh, I'm out of bullets! This is terrible. Now, is there a melee, you would have to pick up a melee weapon, or is there a melee strike?
Yeah, we've got axes, swords, hatchet, a flail, like a mace thing with a sparky ball on the end. So, absolutely.
Works for me. I should have put a couple more in. Oh, Lee, what happened there?
I'm totally getting creamed, is what that's happening. Oh, I think someone just keeps throwing grenades at where all the weapons are, so...
That's me. I'm pretty sure a couple of my grenades did not explode, though.
It's the one thing you can do with an inverted mouse.
Pretty much, I can aim at the ground. It's funny because, like, at some points it seems so natural, like my brain automatically adjusts, like, if you get into a plane or something. Like, I'm expecting, you know, like the reverse controls or inverted controls. My brain automatically knows, but for something to do with first-person shooters, I've just been on inverted mouse forever. As long as I can remember, and I'm old.
I couldn't... I mean, I was back on the Amiga days. I got my first mouse, and it was inverted then. And I switched it over, and I never looked back. But I suppose if I'd spent 20 years on inverted, I'd probably be really good at it.
Yeah, well, you know what it is? It just seems natural. That's all it is. It's like, you know, left hand, right hand at this point for me. It's a big difference.
So, you've actually created and hosted and are now playing a game that didn't exist an hour ago.
That's true. Now, as far as, I know you said the option to change, to create players. is that like here we all look like I almost want to say almost a little bit of terrorist to us. You know, we have we're all in gray, so it's not desert terrorist here, but definitely some form of terrorism going on. It looks like.
Yeah, it was the only model. It's the model we used to develop the software with, so we just kept him around. There wasn't really a political message. It was just the first character we created because we were doing a desert theme, so that was the guy we came up with. But when we do the character creator, one thing you'll be able to do is create your own avatars and then have them at the multiplayer selection join screen. So then you can pick yourself. You could create your character looking like you, put your face on it, and then in the game you'll be running around and you'll look like yourself, and everybody will look like themselves. So.
And then at the same time you get to you don't have to worry too much because you can rely on the Steam Workshop to make sure, or even, well, again, your workshop to root out, you know, because there's going to be people putting inappropriate pictures in there. So obviously, well, I guess that's an issue. That's going to be a little overhead for you guys that they're going to be putting. You're going to have to be looking through all the content that people submit.
Well, we do anyway. I mean, we have 2 forums, and you know, we have moderators on standby 24/7 just to make sure that everything posted is, you know, decent material, and it will extend to the workshop as well. You know, it won't take very long for either us, our own team, or one of our community members to identify that's inappropriate, that shouldn't be there, and then it can be nuked immediately on Steam. So we should be able to police it quite well. But you're right, there will be a small window of opportunity where someone can create something naughty and then post it, and it'll be there for like 20 minutes or something before the person is reported and banned from Steam. But hopefully people value their Steam accounts and they won't want to jeopardize it by posting.
And you know, something that's one good thing with the Steam Workshop integration. You know, you have that leverage. Just like it was easy for you guys to set up multiplayer in 2 seconds, you know, you also you get this added benefit too.
Exactly, and that's why we use Steam, because it gives us a lot of benefits that we wouldn't have to have created from scratch. I mean, our very first multiplayer implementation was completely, you know, set on a separate servers, a big bank of servers, and it would run that way. But we had to have done everything ourselves, and Steam just gives you a nice integration environment, just so we can focus on the stuff that's fun instead of doing all the boring stuff that's already been invented. So,
now, I did notice, I did come up behind you while you're just standing there and put about 3 shotgun shells into your face, which didn't kill you. Is there no positional damage?
I was in pause mode.
Okay.
So you won't see me die until I resume the game, and then I get all that damage in one go.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I did actually see you die a second ago, but I was watching. I'm like, wow, he's got a bulletproof head apparently.
No, we had a talk about that. Should we allow the game to carry on when you're in pause mode? You know, it's like, and how many times you would just get killed over and over and over again because you've removed yourself from that character's brain, as it were. So this is the current implementation, but if we get a lot of feedback saying, nah, it doesn't really work like this, most games do it the other way, where if you escape out or go into pause mode, your character will just be murdered over and over and over again, then that's what we'll do. But we've yet to get that kind of feedback yet.
Now, is there positional damage on these character models? Like headshots do more damage than, you know, pinky shots?
Yeah, we have a multiplier for headshots. So if you're in like the top quarter or just above the shoulder blades, then that's like a multiplier damage effect. Whether it works or not remains to be seen. It's been implemented, but whether there's a bug in there which just... It's very difficult when you're playing a high-octane multiplayer game to decide whether you actually did do a headshot or whether it actually wasn't a headshot really, it was actually more of a chest shot. But yeah, it's implemented, but whether it's now been broken subsequently, who knows? So yeah, it's definitely in there.
I did see that our zombies have returned.
Oh, the static ones?
No, the other ones.
Oh wow, cool.
I don't know if you guys see them or not, but I do. Actually, yeah, someone's killing them, so they're, yeah.
As long as nobody murders me, I can. Oh yeah, there they are. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
They should be out of the game, and I can hear them as well. They're making zombie noises.
And when they killed me, well, she one shot killed me, and it said I killed myself.
Okay, that was the thing that we're going to reintroduce because it's really funny and cool. But it looks like it's reintroduced itself a couple of builds early.
Definitely, it's not a bug; it's a feature.
it's a feature in progress. But I rather like the idea of running around a multiplayer map with lots of marauding zombies everywhere. But I can't obviously do the full test because someone's chasing after me with a shotgun.
Well, someone said, "I won't shoot you. I'll let you go, buddy." But so, you know, the person in here with us said, "Oh, it's the new Left 4 Dead."
Yeah, just with graphics. Oh yeah, you're right. One stab kills these zombies.
Now
Well, it could be anything. I mean, it could be any kind of game anyone wants to create. Left 4 Dead's a great example. Love that game. We could have new assets coming in, so you could do shopping malls and stuff like that. And then you could do your own version of Left 4 Dead. You know, having a really good time.
Now,
Which is really what Guru's about. It's more about the fun of creating games rather than that end result.
Now,
You know.
is there bullet stray an aspect in this game? Because I feel like sometimes my bullets aren't quite hitting where I aim, but maybe that's just me.
You mean, does the bullet change its position as it travels through the air? Sort of?
Yeah, or does it not go perfectly where you're aiming?
At close range, it should do. It should be absolutely pinpoint. But we do have what's called bullet drop. So over a certain range with certain caliber ammunition, it will do a slight downward drop.
Okay.
But that's just it's a cheap attempt at doing an authentic weapon response. Whereas a lot of weapons, you know, the bullets will go up slightly and then down. But we didn't really want to get all sciencey. We wanted to just keep it fun.
Yeah.
We don't want to make it too like simulating weapons and stuff.
Someone actually asked the question. It was the first question I brought up when we first started making a level, which was basically the aspect of co-op, which you said right now no doesn't exist because you're running into issues with the models interacting in a multiplayer environment. But it was a feature you guys are looking to implement.
Definitely. I mean, as you can see, they're running around. They're attacking you. I mean, we're very close. It's just a case we need to cooperate with each other. So we're all in the same place, looking in the same direction and making the same attacks on all the different machines. And it's a sync issue. You know, it's about how much data you can get across the network when there's 8 players on someone who's hosting on a very slow machine. So we have these technical hurdles to overcome. But the co-op, we do have, you know, the team-based thing, 4+4. But yeah, I mean, from that implementation, it'd be quite easy to make it, you know, 8+0. So, you know, you could actually all be on one side against the level, against all the zombies.
Yeah, because that's something that my first thought is something I would love to make. Something that was like a horde-based, you know, progressive level, more enemies come after you, themed game. That's something that I had in mind that I think would be fun, and I'm sure a lot of other people would be looking forward to make too.
Yeah, well, we're entertaining feedback, so that's a pretty big feedback for us. And as you saw, we're very close to that. All we do is make a couple of tweaks, add a few little extra scripts, and all of a sudden you've got a big co-op game running around killing zombies and other creatures.
I mean, it obviously you could see the potential between the workshop. I keep calling it the workshop, but it's your game store. Between the game store, the Steam integration, what you guys already have going here, you could see there's a lot of potential. And we were discussing user-generated content earlier. How, I mean, it's amazing right now what we're doing. Just being on Twitch is user-generated content. People come watch a game, they can enjoy it almost as much, or some people enjoy it more than actually playing the game. So that's user-generated content. If like some things that some of my friends have done with games like Space Engineers are just phenomenal. Like, they are mind-blowing. And I think, you know, that's a great approach to have workshop integration to see what people can make, because I think everyone's going to be impressed. You wouldn't even know your engine would be capable of doing some of this stuff.
Well, I've always been impressed for years. In fact, I've always been into the game creation tool space, and I've done a couple of programming languages. And it's amazing that you think you've implemented, say, these 10 features, and that's what people are going to use, and then the community come up with feature number 11, and it's like, how did you even do that? I mean, for example, we have a programming language called AGK, which is App Game Kit, and it's a 2D engine. It does 2D games. It does 2D apps, and then someone from the community got it in 3D. There was 3D running inside AGK. It's like that. We'd not even implemented 3D yet. Well, where did that come from? And they'd actually got an individual sprite to be 1 pixel in size and use like a million different sprites in order to render their own pixels on the screen to recreate a 3D environment. And it was like, this is the power of community, that you put it out there and then they take it the rest of the way. And we're going to use that as inspiration. We're not trying to do everything. We're going to create those building blocks, and then we're going to give them to the community and let them take it the rest of the way. I think that's the way forward with a small team.
Oh, absolutely. Now, speaking of your team...
You ready to blow this joint?
Sorry about that. I actually loaded up a game there, and the audio was blasting again, and I don't want to attempt to speak over it because it'll ruin the stream. So I'm going to load it up in multiplayer mode, and then it'll... I'll have the options to adjust the audio, but I can go into the Windows settings. Anyway, what I did notice is the level I loaded up actually, there was an audio cue, and it looked like something you'd see out of a single-player game. I'm gonna get back in there, and we'll go from there in 2 seconds. But it's nice to see. It's like, oh, that's unexpected. This is taking it a step further. But going back to what we were about to discuss, which was your team. My first question is, how long have you guys been developing this?
This particular product has probably been in development for 2 years, and it was based on an earlier product that has been in development for over 5 years.
Is that FPS CR?
Yeah, it was FPS. It's now called FPS Creator Classic, which it was released, I don't know, 2005. Long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, 10 years ago, and that was basically a top-down. You drew a grid, and then you basically created these interior spaces. You dropped some things in, pressed a button, and you could run around. But it was sort of limited because it was always corridors and rooms, and everything was at right angles, and it was all very gritty and stuff like that. And so Reloaded came along as a bit, let's really kick it about. Let's make it outdoor. Let's make it a big, expansive universe. Let's do all the things we always wanted to do with Classic, and that was the Reloaded, and that was done through. It was attempted through Kickstarter, but we didn't get the pledge levels we needed, so it didn't succeed on Kickstarter. But then we had the brainwave to do our own Kickstarter, so we just asked for this, the same pledges over a longer term, and we actually got that funded, which was great. And we got sort of a mysterious secret private investor to invest a large amount as well.
Gotta love those people.
Yeah, well, you read about them or you watch a movie and you just think they're fictional. But then when one knocks on your door and says, "I want to help you create this," it's a big buzz. So, and that allowed us to get Reloaded off the ground and get it created into sort of a format that we wanted. But as we get towards the end of that development, we realised the potential of what we had. It wasn't just FPS anymore. We could do third person, so the camera's following the characters, it's running around. We could have stories where you've got characters interacting with the player and taking you on a journey through buildings and forests and stuff like that, and have vehicles and be able to get in an aircraft and fly that around. And like the sort of the Grand Theft Auto sort of open world fun factor, where you could just jump in something and then drive around in it for a bit and then jump out of that, crash it, and then get into something else and carry on. I mean, that sort of fun factor is something that wouldn't have been contained within just an FPS sort of label. So we had an opportunity, before we'd actually gone onto Steam and stuff, well, let's rebrand it, give it a new name so we can really take all those genres on and do everything that we want. And that's how Game Guru was born. It was born out of the technology that runs FPS very well, but then we can expand it out into all those other gameplay types. So we'll be doing that over the next couple of months. So
this is the extension of that original product. So in essence, this was funded by Kickstarter?
It was a failed Kickstarter, and then we got our community to help us fund it. outside of the Kickstarter website, and they did remarkably well,
Okay.
and they backed us to where we needed to be, and we could do, and that allowed us to develop it for almost 2 years. So we got a lot of support on those early days, which was really welcome.
Someone actually asked if the developers were Irish. I think they're referencing your accent. Talking about infamiliarity. Struggled on that word.
To be sure.
Yeah, I'm struggling to get English out at the moment. But that's Lee is from England, and someone actually nailed down the accent instantly before. I'm assuming that's what that reference about being Irish was from. I don't know any other reason why they would have thought this was developed by people in Ireland. That's my assumption. I just saw that in the corner of my eye. Decided to bring that up as I'm waiting. I'm waiting for something to load here. I loaded up some other map, and it looks like someone has joined me, but it's taking their sweet time. I don't know if they're across the world or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I've been thinking of adding some more information. Instead of just waiting, it actually showed you who you're waiting for, what machine they're running, and whether you want to boot them or not. So,
Yeah, that would help.
yeah, because right now you're very much at the mercy of... You could be waiting for nothing. You could be waiting for someone who's left. I mean, you don't know really. There's just not really any information for you. So it's things like that. I mean, that waiting time, it's longer than I would want it to be.
Yep.
What are you waiting for? Is it one person? Is it your computer? Is it somebody else's? So I just like to answer these whilst you're waiting, So, but
Yeah.
it
Yep,
does connect.
Now, I can imagine, as someone who has a programming background, I've only dabbled in game development, but I do have a programming background. I went to school for computer science. I do program, not on a daily basis, but almost. And at my previous job, I did a lot of programming, and I know the concept of, oh, I want to implement this feature. Oh, I need this feature. I need this feature. And all of a sudden, you're just like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. And it gets overwhelming.
Yeah, welcome to my world. Overwhelming. That's morning, dinner, and that and tea food for me. Yeah, it's normal. It's just a high octane rush of there's a million things, and you don't have a million time to do a million things. So you have to be quite brutal sometimes and say, I can only do 10 things, and then it's half the battle is deciding what those 10 things are. And fortunately, we have a community who are firmly, entrenched in. They know what those 10 things ought to be. So, because of that kind of passion, I just defer, to that energy, and I'm happy to code whatever it is that people want to see. But obviously, I won't do it at the sacrifice of, good programming practices. I wouldn't be adding lots of lofty things before the groundwork's in place.
Now, as far as your development team size, how many people is that?
Very small, actually. We're a UK team, virtual company, so there's no building. We're all distributed to our various places. I'm the lead developer, so I'm the guy kind of to pull it all together and do bits of most of the single player stuff. Then we've got a guy called Ravy. He does all the multiplayer stuff, so that's his purview. We've got a couple of freelance artists who provide different categories. Like we've got some character artists and some scenery stuff. A lot of third-party artists from the community, just providing stuff here and there and everywhere, and level design and things like that. We've got a guy working in the background on a cross-platform technology, but that's going to take quite a while because there's a lot of platforms out there and continuing fragmentation of the marketplace.
So cross-platform as in Mac and Linux, or as in consoles?
Yeah, as in all of them.
Oh, wow.
We've already got it. We've already got our technology, not Guru, but we've actually got our technology running on Mac and Linux and Windows and iOS and Android and Windows Phone, and there's a few others as well, some older operating systems that no longer exist that I won't mention. And we are looking at the Xbox One as probably the first console to have a look at because of its DirectX, its strong DirectX flavor. So it's an easy migration for us to look at that next. But because we've got a lot of work to do just on the PC, we've split it up so the two of us are on this and making sure that it becomes a really easy to use, really cool game maker. And then the third guy just in his dungeon coding the cross-platform everything. and it's actually available today. It's called App Game Kit, but it's actually going to be the technology we use in 2016 to then build our cross-platform. It won't be the same app on all the different things because you can't really have a desktop experience on a mobile. It just doesn't work like that. But it'll be the same brand across all the platforms. So you'll be able to do certain things on a tablet, certain things on a console, certain things on a phone, and you have that whole ecosystem all feeding into that one, that core ideal, which is I want to create something and I want it to be fun. So that's the plan, year on, year on.
So are you at all involved in the, is your team at all involved in the console development, particularly the Xbox One development? And if so, how does that feel? Like, is it something easy to work with, or is it look like it's quite complex?
Haven't a clue.
Okay.
We're not important enough to actually get a license to develop for it, or at least not when the opportunity first arose to check it out. It was basically a short list of people who'd already done console work and had a pedigree of already working with the earlier technologies, which is fine. We're not ready for it yet. We've still got a lot of work to do. SteamOS looks interesting, getting full compatibility for that, because that's really fits in with our overall Steam distribution strategy.
Yeah.
So we're going to be taking that very seriously. And there'll be time. When the time is right, we'll just knock on the door and say we want one of these development kits. I'm sure we'll get one, and then we start playing around. But because they're unifying the API across console, desktop, tablet, and phone, and we already know the Windows Phone stuff, it should be a pretty straightforward process to learn those extra APIs and get up and running. But I'm not making light of the situation. Developing a console app from scratch is a big job, and it'll take a long time. But it'd be nicer if we already had the design in place, a successful product that everybody likes, that when we do spend the time to migrate it to console, we know we're going to have an audience when we finished it, and it's not an experiment or a big risk. That's the plan for consoles.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different world, definitely, than dealing with PC. I mean, you would know better than me, but just from everything I know, it's definitely a different world.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, but I think it's opening up now. Back in the day, everything was in a box or in a cartridge and stuff, but now with the indie sections on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it sort of opened the door a little bit for everybody to get involved. So we might even just stick to that and just go an indie route, or we might do something a bit more official or exclusive with one of the two big players. I mean, I said the two big, there's probably also Nintendo, who have been making a couple of ripples of late, so who knows?
They're
who
trying.
Knows what
They've announced that they're working on new hardware. So
yeah, and they started it all off. So who knows? Maybe they'll come back with teeth. So 2016, it's a long time in technology. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what we're going to be doing 15 months from now.
I'm just trying to catch up with the chat here. There's a lot going on. I haven't seen any main questions going through, and my moderators are doing a great job. So I think if I miss anything, they'll hand it over to me. But I'm just taking a second here and just catching up on the chat a little bit.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Oh, there was some reference to what was going on with the loading screen. All right. Just pretty much. Nothing major that people have been asking. I did start working on Mattopia 2.0 here, which is much nicer than the Ashtray. It's got some half-built buildings, and it is nice how simple it is to just grab some stuff, drop it in. And again, I mean, I don't see myself personally having the free time to develop something huge, but from what I've seen in the Steam Workshop, and again, mentioning Space Engineers, I could see people creating some ridiculously amazing stuff with this engine.
Well, I was really excited when the whole Minecraft movement started, and it was a fun little game. But then when they started coming up with things like, have you ever saw the Star Next Generation Enterprise? And they created the whole exactly to scale, the whole thing in a huge Minecraft level.
Yes.
That was for me, that was a pivot point. That showed me for the first time user-generated content is overtaking traditional, delivery systems for content. And it was such an inspiration to me that this is the power of the community. This is what the community can do with the right equipment, with the right software. And it continues to be an inspiration that at some point there will be a time when someone recreates the Starship Enterprise in a huge Game Guru level. So I'm looking forward to that day.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I'm sure if there's a good player adoption, you're going to see some amazing stuff.
It's exciting times.
Now, going back to your development team just for a second here, or more actually questions on how you plan to support this title. Now, you said you guys are planning on working on supporting it for the next 5 years, releasing all new features. Obviously, you're going to continue with the bug patches and everything like that. But right now, all of your funding is coming from the early access sales and the store itself, the Game Guru store?
Well, we're in a fortunate position in that we don't just do this product. We have a couple of other products that we did last year, or I think it was the year before. And there's also the AGK, which is actually a product you can buy. It's actually also on Steam for $100. So those products are doing quite well. And so what we're doing, we're investing that money into the development of Guru. So we've been doing it. We've been in business since 1999. We always reinvest everything we make back into developing the next thing. So we don't have any sort of funding problem. We're doing okay. The early access Steam sales are okay. It lets the product tick along. There's no warning signs or anything like that. So the future looks pretty good. I don't think we have any problems committing to this project for the next 5 years. And it was a strategic decision to focus on Game Guru, focus on one big brand, because in the last 10 years, when we finished something, as soon as we finished it, we put it in a box, we sent it out to the retailers, and we sold it on our own site. But then we went on and we did another product. We did the next product. We carried on maintaining the old one and fixing bugs and stuff, but we then switched tracks and we did a brand new product from scratch. And what we decided was, what if we just stayed on one product? What if we just stayed on one product for 5 years and just kept putting all the energy into that one brand? What would happen? And the general conclusion was a great piece of software will happen. And so that's why we're committing to this. We're anytime a distraction comes along, work for hire, another great product idea, and we always have great product ideas, the response will always be the same. Yes, that's great, that's wonderful, but we've agreed to focus on this one brand and make it a really great piece of software. So it's a philosophy within the team now that Game Guru will be the thing, and we're just going to keep working on it until it's screamingly good.
Well, it's nice to see that you guys are planning to give it that level of support. One thing you mentioned actually brought a question to my mind. So is the current early access price of $19.99 the planned official price, or will that change?
We've not really talked about it, but our general gut feel is we want it priced along the same lines of Minecraft, which I think was something like €15 or something like that, because we don't want to go for that prosumer price tag. Once upon a time, it might have made sense, but we've looked at the market, and we think we could do better. We could reach more people. We can create a piece of software that will appeal to a lot more people if we actually set the price at the right. I don't think anyone would want sort of a kick around hobby sort of fun piece of software and then spend $100 on it. I don't think that would really penetrate. You'd only really appeal to like people who are used to buying Mac software or tools and things like that. And we wanted this to be well within the price range of a game, of any game that you buy on Steam. And so my gut feel, it's not officially decided or anything, but my gut feel is it won't really budge from $20. I think that is a nice sweet spot. It's a good price. It means anybody can get involved and enjoy the game creating experience without really having any obstacles to entry. So I don't see the price increasing personally.
So I'm sitting here playing around with the world settings, and actually I found one of these very lovely sky textures, which with the clouds moving by, which looks great. Again, are these items that are going to be available in the store, the Game Guru store?
Yeah, I think there already is a selection of additional skies, additional terrain types, and additional vegetation types. You'll probably find them in packs. So if you go to the store and look for packs, you'll see packs of these things. We deliberately wanted to, keep the content fresh. So if somebody plays one of your games and you use different stuff from the store, we don't want one to say, "Oh, that's a Game Guru game," because they recognise some graphic. We want you to be able to change every single graphic, every HUD, every single pixel. So you would not tell that it was a Game Guru game. You might tell at the moment with sliding zombies and stuff, but in about 6 months' time, the idea is you'll have customised it so much it will be indistinguishable from a game you've created in other solutions.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the really standout Unity titles, there's still some telltale signs that they've been developed with the Unity engine. So you look at them and you're like, wait a second, I've seen this before. I know this is Unity. So and that kind of does sometimes in a minor way detract from the game itself. So I understand what you're saying. Oh yeah, we want to make this so many options that people will stop and go, I don't know exactly, how this was made or where this came from.
And there's another feature as well. I mean, the store stuff and the built-in libraries are for people who genuinely don't want to create models all day. But there's another feature in the editor called import, and what you can do, you can bring in your own graphics, you can bring in your own models, your own geometry, your own textures, and that will be completely unknown. It will not be in any store, it won't be anywhere except what you've just imported, what you've just created. So yeah, you could actually bring in stuff that no one's ever seen before. You have that option, but you obviously need to know an artist, or you're an artist yourself, or you can dabble and create a bit of geometry. But you can use it. I mean, textures are pretty generic stuff. It's usually the geometry and then the fine touches that you put over the top of it that kind of disguise the fact of where it came from. Usually, I think there's only like 1,000 textures in the world that just gets reused over and over and over again. So it's really about what you want to bring in, what you want to reuse, and then crafting it in such a way that people get a unique experience. Because a brick wall is a brick wall. You can't really say that brick wall's from such a place, and providing you use it in the right place, I think you'll get away with it. It's when people drop in like whole packs. They buy a Unity medieval pack or something, and then drop every single item into that one level. It's going to look like the next guy's level who's also dropped in the same objects.
Yeah.
That's where you sort of you fall over a little bit. And another little clue, if you did do a Unity game, that big splash screen at the start which says
exactly,
this was written in Unity,
yes,
that'd be the first clue.
Yeah, the one that, do you want your graphics to be fantastic? That little and it's funny because the last developer stream I did, actually, his game was developed with Unity. The game was called Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball, which he was. It's a funny name, and I love saying it, to be honest. But he actually did quite well. He was pretty successful. His game, right after we had the developer live stream, was actually featured on PC Gamer, and Total Biscuit did a segment on it. So I felt like I felt important myself. But no, I spoke to him about that. I said, what engine did you use for this? And he said, oh, it's Unity. And I said, I couldn't tell it was Unity. And this is exactly what we were talking about. When it's done right, you can't tell.
That's right. And it isn't 5 minutes. You have to spend a long time with those minute little details just to make sure that it's properly, it's crafted to the full extent of your imagination and what it is you wanted to deliver. And and if you carry on doing that route and you keep adding the detail, eventually it's completely your own work. It's indistinct, it's completely unique, and it can't be compared with anything else because of all the attention to detail that you put into it.
Yeah.
Just like any form of crafting or creativity.
And it's that's exactly the example we said before. What I said to him, I said, "Oh, this is done with Unity. I didn't see that typical splash screen that asks if you want fantastic graphics." And he said, yeah, the people who leave that in there are lazy. And it's like, it's how far do you want to take it? And do you want to make it your own? And you guys seem to be, your approach is to make that as easy as possible.
Definitely. I mean, that's first on our tagline, and it'll be probably features 1, 2, and 3 on our bullet points. You know, if we can be easier than everybody else, then I think we'll have achieved most of what we wanted to do. Power will come anyway because we can't help but put in really cool script commands and stuff like that. You'll just get that free gratis. But easy isn't easy to code. Easy is probably one of the most difficult things to design. You know, something that's so intuitive, people don't need to be instructed on how to use a thing. And that's very difficult to come by. So that's always will be our mission, at least for the first couple of years, to make sure easy is cut through. You know, it's like a stick of rock. If you cut it down the middle, and it'll say easy on the middle, you know, right through the center of it. So that's what we're aiming for.
I mean, I do have to say, I'm not making the most exciting or prettiest level here. However, I am fooling around with the tools, and they are very easy to use. Obviously, my attention is on you and the conversation here, but I feel like if I wanted to, I can map something out, you know, maybe sketch it or really think about it in my head and just go forward and create it. I don't feel like the tools are what's limiting me, and I don't feel like, geez, I can't just figure out how to do something. I mean, you did guide me in some steps of the way, but I have not felt like, oh my god, this is, how the heck would I do this? And every time I turn a corner and just randomly click something, I'm like, oh, I can do that. That's really nice, and that was really easy.
Well, that's my hope. That's what the experience is. It's like it's so natural and freeform. But I do hope that if anybody does run into a thing like, I want to do this and I don't know how to do it and I'm just lost, I really hope that people would feedback and post it on anything, on a forum, on a tweet, anything, just to let us know, because if we don't know, we're going to assume we've finished, we assume we've succeeded in our mission, and that feedback is absolutely crucial to us, at least, you know, in the first, certainly during the early access, but certainly for the first few years, just so we can, you know, head everything off at the pass. For example, you're probably wondering, how do I put all my logic into this game now? How do I do all the different
it's one thing I have not worked on. Are those where's the logic reside within this engine?
Well, the logic, you've probably already figured out the logic that is easy to access, like dropping characters and they become enemies, dropping weapons and you can pick them up. If you go to the markers section, you'll actually see that you've got some trigger zones at the bottom. You've got
sound zone, wind zone.
Yeah. And when you walk into those zones, you can trigger something to happen, like an entity could spawn, like an end-of-level bad guy you want to spawn in when you walk through a door. So you basically drop down a trigger zone, then you drop down a big bad guy, and then you link one with the other, and then it will be triggered. But I don't think it's still intuitive enough. I think you kind of have to know it. I had to tell you that before you could actually figure it out. And I want to make it easier than that. I want to make it so you just kind of knew what you had to do. You know, so, and I don't know the answer yet, but that's my problem.
I think trigger zones in themselves are actually fairly easy to handle. I think that is intuitive. If you've done any other type of development, again, this is supposed to be directed at people who have no development experience, but I do think triggers themselves make sense. You know, just the word is simple enough too. Oh, trigger, that triggers something.
Yeah.
But what I am seeing here is, okay, I popped down a trigger. So I made a trigger zone, and then I went into the properties of it, and I see that it has AI system, and there's all these LUA files. Now, where did they come from? How would I modify them? How would I make one? That's the question.
We have an internal terminology in the team. We have what's called standard user mode and advanced user mode. You've just strayed into advanced user mode because it means you've got to know Lua, you've got to be able to script, you got to know things like Notepad, so you can edit text files, and you got to know a little bit about logic. You got to know that, you know, A plus B equals C, and when C equals 3, then this happens, and if it's 4, then that happens. You got to have that sort of that next level of knowledge. And so, rather than force people to have to learn that, what I thought would be a good idea is, let's say you drop down a trigger zone, and you drop down a big bad guy. You could click the big bad guy and say, "You hide for now. You go away." And then you drag a line from the trigger zone to that enemy, and then you hear a click sound, and that connects those two things together. So from a visual point of view, someone who doesn't know anything about logic knows this. That big area that you can walk into is linked to that big invisible guy I've just made invisible. And so when I walk into there, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to become visible. And so that level of planning your logic out in the level is kind of what I want to aim for. So hopefully people never have to go into this. But for anyone who's interested, it's all there. That's what we've been using for last year to do all our logic. It's standard Lua, extremely powerful scripting language. It's used.
I've seen it in Gmod, and I've seen it in a lot of Source Engine applications.
Yeah, it's a full programming language. It's a really powerful way to create your logic. We've created a lot of Lua commands that hook into the engine, so you can things like you can hide objects, show objects, trigger sounds, all that kind of stuff. As to how to create them, just create them in Notepad. You know, open up a text editor, write some Lua.
Is there any plan for a Lua editor? Or
yeah,
no
we
plans
will be.
Okay.
Instead of just jumping in and then, oh look, there's a file requester, which is not very useful. We're going to have an extra button which can open the script up in a text editor within the IDE, so you can actually do the editing and save and then see those results instantly in the game. I think that's the next natural step. But again, that's for like your advanced user. And your advanced user is quite happy to use Notepad right now. They're not really pushing us to say, we want everything in the IDE and we want it now. I think the current mission is to make sure the standard user is fairly treated, that they can create the logic that they want. And for that, I'm going to have to come up with some new visual tricks in order to create this associative logic between entities. So that's my current mission. But yeah, I'm going to integrate Lua a lot more once the standard users have been sated.
I'm trying to work something out here, see if it works for me. So let's see. I put something here. Are these actually? Okay. There we go. I'm playing around, seeing if it is. It looks very intuitive. I want to see what I did is correct. We'll see. So basically, I made a trigger zone. I applied the Lua file called proximity mine, and I put some X's around it. It made a sound effect. I don't know. I actually didn't look into the script to see exactly what it does, but it did fire off a sound effect.
Right. Well, I mean, you've some really good points here. I mean, it really is advanced mode. But the idea that you've put the proximity script on a marker, there's actually nothing in the marker to explode, because the marker is like an invisible entity. But what you could do is anything that's visible, like a box or maybe even a building, I don't know, anything I suppose. You've got to drop in an entity, make sure it's dynamic, because there's two things, there's static and dynamic. Static are like solid objects, they can never move, and dynamic stuff is stuff that can move during the game at some point. It's just a case of adding in a dynamic entity and then assigning the proximity script to it, and in theory, when you get near it, I think it's within 80 units, it explodes.
Oh, I do love theories.
Well, I've only ever tested it with the proximity man, which is in the weapons category.
I am looking through the advanced area, which I do think... so yeah, so I see there's an AI script here, and it's running the default script on it. So let's see. You know, I'm trying... you know, like I said, with that developer background, what we try and do the most is break stuff.
Yeah, I think you're on the right lines. Definitely on the right lines.
Actually, I had one class in college that we were dedicating to breaking each other's programs.
Not difficult. You just delete every other line, don't you?
Well, no. Someone would run the code, and then you have to try and make it not work while it's running.
Ah, yeah, debugging. Yeah, playtesting and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. That's half my job, I think.
It was always fun to bring up a program, bring it to the front of the class, and then have random other people selected, and they try and break it. They try and get it to do something wrong, and it was never fun. And every once in a while, your friend would get picked, and you know you would have no sympathy for each other. You would do your damnedest to break that person's program.
Competition, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not your program being broke at the time, and I suppose it's okay. I take it that didn't work. I think the barrel was static, perhaps.
Now, how would you see if an entity is static or dynamic?
In the latest build, it's the one that's coming out today. I've changed the highlighter, but if you go, I mean, I can actually show you. If you go to back to the map editor, so the top down, and just hover over it, hover over the barrel, you'll get like a highlighter around the entity, and it's either going to be green or red.
Okay.
And if it's green, it's dynamic, and if it's red, it's static.
So we're back to theory zone because it's green.
Oh, so it's green, and you've attached the proximity script to it, and you've gone near and it didn't blow up.
Oh, looks like maybe I didn't apply the proximity script because it's still on default. So maybe that's my mistake.
So yeah,
apply changes.
I'm thinking of getting rid of the apply button. I think it's an unnecessary extra click that people don't really.
Okay,
need.
it looks like it applied. Let me move my player start position because it looks like I'll blow up the second I start. So, yeah, let's just test this out. Let's see how this goes. It's possible I screwed up again. Oh no, it exploded! It scared the shit out of me. It scared the shit out of me.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it never gets old, does it, blowing stuff up?
No, it does not. So Lee, it's been a pleasure having you here today. I'm going to be moving on to some other stuff. We'll do a little outro for you. I'll let people know what's going on. I'm actually going to do another giveaway too. When's the next giveaway, Hero? It's right frickin' now. That's when the giveaway is. So if you're interested, type I'm in the chat. Again, if you've won this copy already, if you won a copy of this already or you won during the week, you are exempt from this drawing. I'm sorry, but Nightbot's been a little crazy and he likes picking the same people over and over again. Let me change my screen here so people can actually get a lovely picture of Game Guru. I'll put that up in the background. Alright, so Lee, like I said, it's a pleasure having you here today. I could probably spend another 2 hours easily talking to you about this, about the industry, about game development and everything like that, but there is other stuff that has to go on. But again, like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I wish you a lot of luck in the future with this. If you are interested later down the road when you're going out of early access, you want to come back, I'd really enjoy that too.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff to add, and I think you'll probably play it again and you won't even recognise it, or at least you'll see a lot of new stuff that you'll want to be playing around with. So, a really great opportunity if I could come back in, say, 3 months.
All right, yeah. Listen, just contact me. Feel free to contact me at any time.
Excellent.
And yeah, we'll proceed with that. I'm going to be playing with this, and some lucky winner in the next 30 seconds when I do the drawing will also be playing with this too. And again, I guess it's a hot topic today between the New York accent and your Irish accent. People are asking about accents again. Yes, I have a New York accent, and our buddy Lee over here actually is from the UK. Someone was able to narrow it down right to, what was it? Wingen? Was that?
Wigan.
Wigan. Someone narrowed you down instantly, which I find pretty amazing. But then again, New York accent stands out too. So people usually get New York accent right away, or they say Boston, which does not sound at all the same. Oh, again, all week there's been some similar themes that I'm in the Italian Mafia, and one of the guys in the stream wins every prize. It's been a very fun week of streaming. All right, guys, let's fire off this winner right now. Again, like I said, if you've won already, you are exempt. Hero Bello, did you win one of the previous giveaways? And I will check. I'll check, so don't lie to me. We'll wait. We'll wait a second here. So, Lee, like I said, thanks again for joining. And it's been a lot of fun. To everybody who won a copy of Game Guru, good luck. Let me see your product. Message me on Steam. Get me here on Twitch. Maybe we'll show off what you guys made, do a little more promoting for Game Guru. I wish you guys a lot of luck, Lee.
Okay, great. Lots of fun. Thanks
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Okay, no problem.
Have a good day.
Okay, and you. Bye.
Channel switched.
All right, boys and girls, that was fun. Hero Bello, you're new. Okay, so you didn't win it before. Like I said, Nightbot has just been crazy, and he's been picking the same people. But this right here is the Battlefield Hardline Feed Me Pixels giveaway week. Nightbot is just being super aggressive to you. I'm going to send you that key right now. You might have to look out. I'm sending on the Twitch email system. Occasionally these messages go to the other box. Inbox, outbox, other box. Sometimes they go to the other box. So just make sure you check that. I'm sending you the key right now. Just give me a second to pull that up. And I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream with Lee from Game Guru. I had a great time. Like I said, I could spend another God knows how long just discussing with him. I always enjoy those developer live streams, and I try and do them as often as possible. It's just sometimes I get in touch with different people, sometimes they contact me. It's completely random. Anyway, you guys have listened to me ramble a ton here. I'm going to go get that key for Hero, and